Okay, right here I will be casting TSM versus Envy, game one here. TSM, top of the standings, looking to make it in playoffs as they have for every split of the NALCS, in fact, finals. And Envy looking to push their way up in the standings, knowing that they are around that mid tier of these teams. And they've had struggles, however, definitely a better split for them coming from last split here. So the three bans from each team, we're going to have LeBlanc, Thresh, and Elise on the side TSM. Three very strong picks, very good at getting picks off, and definitely good with early game pressure too when you count in that Elise. And three very strong champions, Caitlyn and Zac, commonly banned on the red side, along with the Maokai, which they do not want to give to TSM. And the early ganks coming out of this Gragas, that's the first pick of the game locked in by TSM, are going to be devastating when it comes to fighting Envy's composition. Envy, they have had pretty good laners throughout the split. Apollo and Hakuho definitely doing well on their comfort picks. So one area that TSM could look to shut down and get Doublelift and Biofrost ahead with those freak B tier AD carry memes. But Cho'Gath and Kalista looking to be locked in for Envious. Cho'Gath, strong tank, great in that side lane, especially versus multiple tank picks. And Kalista, a very strong AD carry right now, definitely up there in the meta. Rips through tanks easily, gets those objectives, and with that, they're really gonna be looking to control, like with these zone controlling abilities that they have with the Cho'Gath and the Kalista pick. It's going to be a lot easier for them to make it harder for TSM to play around specific areas of the map that they might be looking to. To counter that Kalista, however, TSM have locked in Tristana, which will equalize the Kalista, if not be better in the late game and be a safe pick in this bottom lane. With her rocket jump, especially in these team fights, it's a lot easier for Kalista to be outmaneuvered by this Tristana, because Tristana, the resets coming in, especially with the damage from this picked Syndra for Bjergsen, very strong blind. But going back to that Tristana, it's easy to move around and reposition yourself, dodging the abilities, dodging that Cho'Gath Q, and dodging that Talia W or E, or making sure you don't get hit by those Qs, which could be the difference between life and death when it comes to Doublelift's positioning. And very, I think a great pick in this bottom lane to go against that Kalista. So now that we come upon this second ban phase, we're going to have the Talia out of Team Envy. Now, Talia, a great pick for those early roams, and also setting up and controlling these team sites. And Envy's composition, as I mentioned before, have a very strong zone control that great for these objectives. See, not only can they rip through and secure these objectives, they can also get the fights they want by splitting up TSM, knowing that TSM, their mid laner, for example, Syndra, has no mobility minus the flash that could be used to either get over a wall or dodge a Cho'Gath Q that could be locking them up. So a melee support ban coming out of Envy with the Braum, along with a very strong side laner to go against this Cho'Gath, who they seem to want to get ahead with Seraph. And along with the same sort of bans coming out from TSM, meaning that TSM could either look to pick this Gragas into the top lane or have some sort of counter for the Cho'Gath, who they might have assumed the Kennen support could come out, which we saw in LCK, which is definitely going to win lane if you aren't careful. And both teams banning the melee support as a sort of measure so they could possibly get against that range and win the 2v2 with these explosive bottom lanes, no pun intended with the Tristana, that both Tristana and Kalista can provide. So Rek'Sai going to be locked in for Envy. Very strong early jungler, definitely great with the mobility and also the skirmishes, which could be a benefactor of the Talia walls, and Rakan being the last pick for Envy, which is, first of all, a great synergy pick for this Kalista. The two, with their engaged strength, and once again, the zone control, they are very good together, and a great bottom lane coming out of Envy, which we can hope for Apollo to kind of have a good position to work with here, as Kalista has been a good pick for him throughout the split. However, TSM goes with the Shen in the top lane to counter the Cho'Gath, which is quite strong in the side lanes and has that double global, while Seraph is stuck with the 1, which means that he might have greater teamfight presence, and the Lulu to keep that Tristana safe through the bottom lane. Make sure that they don't get rolled over along with that mobility, so they're looking to sustain through this early game, while Envy, they really want to make something happen. They want to get that roam off. They want to get that perfect play or perfect dive that could be an explosive moment that changes the tide of the game. So as we load onto the Rift, you can review the compositions here, which both mid laners, very strong overall laners, both players and champions. Those two are going to have a relatively even lane. However, in the top lane, I do favor the Shen pick over the Cho'Gath. Although Cho'Gath does have the strong base damage and does have that good laning, the overall cohesion of TSM, the way they want to keep this bottom lane safe, not only is Hanser going to make it easier for them to do that with both the teleport and the Shen ultimate, he's never going to be super far behind in the lane where it's impossible for him to have a split push presence. So he has the protection capabilities along with those map play capabilities that you really want to see out of a top laner. However, Svenskeren also possibly looking to affect this mid lane in the early game with those easy picks into laning into one another. It might be better for him to come earlier rather than later, knowing that not only does he have those strong ganks, especially with the E-Flash, that Bjergsen can follow up with his own stun using that QE combo, while Niski only has the flash to get out in the early game. So a little pressure coming out from Hanser here. Definitely a stronger level 1, going to hold this bush position, while just line of scrimmage drawn through the map. No real invades here coming out. So it's going to be a relatively simple start to the game. However, what I'm interested in is to see how both Svenskeren and Lyra start their jungle pathing. Lyra looking to clear the red buff, which is quite standard, along with Gragas on the blue buff, so it doesn't seem like either of them are going to do any of those interesting Raptor or super quick XP clears that get that level 3 with the Rift Scuttle, which also will provide vision. Envy walking into the jungle, getting a few wards down. They're going to be spotting out where Svenskeren starts. Now, this may look like a small play, however, it's very good for them, knowing that they want to defend against these level 3 or so ganks coming out from Svenskeren, which definitely is an advantage for them coming into this early game now that they have the information. However, the bottom lane going to be pushed back ever so slightly. Apollo going to miss a few CS. Going to rebound, hopefully, in that in the sequence of this lane. And every lane is quite even. However, the top lane off to a little lead. Just first wave here with that Shen level 1. Going to actually get a bit of poke here. Might using that Grasp the Undying to stay healthy in this lane while getting that poke off. The bottom lane going to be shoving the wave out on the side of TSM and getting some poke in on Apollo and Hako. Quite unexpected from a strong duo in this lane. And Lyra going for the early Skull Crab, possibly contested by Svenskeren, who's walking down here to look around. However, he's going to get spot out in his positioning, and nothing really going to come out of that play. Both junglers sitting around this bottom side. However, now that Svenskeren's been caught out and gotten the information out of, it will be a lot tougher for him to get that play or get some sort of summoner advantage or even a kill. So that was a very smart play by Lyra, not only great with his pathing, but now he has that 4 camps, which is the same as Svenskeren, however, getting that vision down. Wards placed, though, in the river by TSM, making sure that this bottom lane, knowing they got the shove, will not be a target of Lyra. One thing I'd really like to talk about, however, when it comes to this game is these top laners, because Hanser is going to be a huge part of this game. Probably one of the most important parts. The way he plays out this top lane matchup will be a big decision. Will he get shoved in? If he gets shoved in, that's going to make it a lot tougher for him to respond to these bottom lane possible plays coming out of Lyra and Niski around the level 6 time, which is essentially when Shen really needs to be there to defend. So if Hanser gets constantly shoved in and gets extremely far behind in lane, it will be a lot tougher for him to have usefulness as a champion. However, Seraph not having the greatest of splits, not looking very strong on NVS overall. So knowing Hanser is definitely one of the top laners in the North American LCS, it's going to be very interesting how this matchup's played out. The bottom lane getting relatively equalized. Apollo down a little CS, however, the shove has gone back in favor of this Envy bottom lane. And the junglers both deciding to go top side, possibly to affect this mid lane now that they both backed around this time where they both be hitting level 6, both power spikes for these champions. Syndra with the possibility to get that one shot off in the early game. However, Niski going to opt for a null magic mantle to defend against that, making it a lot tougher, knowing Svenskeren and Bjergsen both do have that magic damage. And Niski going to come around, get the ward down, make it a lot tougher for Svenskeren to get in and make that play. However, Hanser just going to be trading here, getting the advantage of Seraph, and coming out with a CS lead. Very impressive from him. And as the train continues, we see that Svenskeren has actually invaded the bottom side jungle of Envy's jungle here. And Hanser going in with the taunt, going to hit him and get a bit of damage off, proccing that Grasp of the Undying. However, going to get poked off, and the damage is actually going to be in favor of Seraph. However, Svenskeren clearing wards in Lyra's side of the jungle, making it easier for them to come back for this bottom lane play, or possibly trying to get a contest out of Lyra to make a play happen as of now, knowing that Doublelift and Biofrost do have regained the shove in the lane. Teleport going to be used by Hanser, however, he still does have that the Shen ultimate now that he is at level 6, so it's going to be still possible for him to make that cross map play, while in case Seraph does use his TP here, he'll either be forced to lose CS or be at a global disadvantage, which is just an aspect of Shen as a champion here. However, Seraph going to be walking back to the lane, biting the bullet and taking that CS deficit given to him by Hanser in this lane. The mid lane going relatively stable for Bjergsen here, coming up to a 6 CS lead. Not anything huge or impossible to come back from, but definitely he is holding a slight lead and a bit of dominance in this lane, knowing he's shoving in this Talia, making it a lot tougher for her to get that level 6 cross map play. And due to the fact that they caught Envy's bottom lane on a back timer, they're going to be going for this Infernal Drake and possibly getting the first objective of the game, which is very beneficial to them, especially when they want an easier scaling for both Doublelift to get into later stages of the game, and they want Bjergsen to be able to get those one-shot plays off. However, we're going to see, as a response to that, Niski and Lyra are going to just steal the blue buff of TSM, try to get something back for what they lost, while Lyra continues to counter jungle. However, a possible collapse coming in, as Bjergsen seems to be pathing towards... However, nope, he is pinged towards the mid lane, so Bjergsen's going to be going back to his lane, while Svenskeren trying to make notice of what happened, clear some of the deep wards that might have been left, and continue on with his clears. However, in case TSM does want to go for a 2v2 between the jungle mid, they could go for that second blue buff, knowing they do have the river control and the bot lane shove, so they have the earlier collapse. And Rakan, the bottom lane, clearing out a ward, might get caught out here by the Lulu and Tristana. However, he's going to fall back and get some wards out of his own. make it easier for Envy to keep their bot lane safe. And like I said, TSM does opt to go for this blue buff. However, it's going to return back to its location, and doesn't seem like they're going to get it here. But the bot lane coming through from TSM, not actually going for this play, going for this while Bjergsen keeps Niski at a distance to stop any interference with that blue buff steal. However, Apollo and Hakuho, both with the level 6, very strong engage, possibly, yep, Apollo gonna send the ult and put Hakuho in there, catching out Doublift and Biofrost with the CC. Doublift coming low from Lyra's ultimate and going to be taken down for first blood. Svenskeren in the pit, however, he's gonna E right over and get out of there. Well done by Envy catching out one of the players there. And TSM not respecting the level 6 power of the Kalista Rakan duo. A very strong duo indeed, and Svenskeren going to try to fight off Lyra and Hakuho from stealing his red buff. However, Niski going to roam down along with Bjergsen. Possibly a sign of another play going, but the red buff is going to go over to Niski, and they're going to return to lane, keep going on with their game here. But yeah, and we can see in the replay, the ult coming out from the Kalista followed by the engage and exhaust onto Doublift, making it very tough for him to get out. And 3-on-1, it's going to be a kill there. And both flashes burned by the TSM bottom lane, followed by only the summoner spell of the exhaust used by Hakuho in that earlier trade, which is definitely going to look good for this bottom lane as they come out with almost a 1k lead for their team. However, they have taken some turret damage, so using that lead, they do want to make sure that TSM isn't able to sustain this bottom wave shove, knowing they do not want to lose that first turret gold. In the top lane, though, we can see Hanser coming out with a 36 CS lead. That is around 2.5 kills or so worth of gold. So a lot of TSM's kind of comeback here is on Hanser right now, who has all of that gold, knowing that he does have that huge lead against Seraph, which is very good for him and does definitely show a little bit of mastery and dominance in this lane. Using these jungle proximity stats, however, we can see that Lyra and Svenskeren are very similar junglers in the way they spend their time, as Envy and TSM do like to play around that mid lane here, with Bjergsen obviously being the all-star player of TSM, a long-standing player, one of the best in the North American LCS, if not the best, along with Niski being quite a good addition to Envy this split. However, Envy looking to possibly set up a dive here in this bottom lane. Prey Seeker going to be coming out from Lyra, but not hitting anyone. Doublift going to try to clear this wave as quickly as possible, catch all the CS, and make sure that doesn't happen. Now at a 10 CS disadvantage, however. Along with TSM, almost all of them being at a CS disadvantage, minus Svenskeren and Biofrost. And, well, never mind. Sorry, Hanser too, actually. So the individual carries are actually equalized now, and TSM actually holds all of the CS leads. Small mistake by me there, excuse me. Now Hanser pushing in Seraph, forcing Lyra to stay in the top side jungle now that his camps are cleared, and possibly respond to this, maybe get a play onto Hanser. However, he does have that flash and the E to escape. Bottom lane currently under quite a lot of control by TSM using those wards, and Bjergsen, Svenskeren looking for a dive here, possibly catching out Apollo. Flash going to be missed by Svenskeren, however, both summoners used by Apollo. Hanser going to be ulting in with Biofrost using his ultimate on Hanser to keep him safe, while the trade kill goes off onto Biofrost and Bjergsen getting caught out and killed. TSM looking like they're going to be losing this fight, while Svenskeren goes down and Hanser are going to follow. And with that being a play perfectly working out for Envy, however, first turret does go to TSM. So the play ends up being a 1-4-4. However, the turret does go in TSM's favor, so the gold lead isn't as monumental as it could have been. But definitely here. We can see the E-Flash missed by Svenskeren and the ult coming out from Hanser. And the re-engage slash disengage from the Recon CC does actually get them knocked up and harder to maneuver, while Bjergsen gets caught out by Cho'Gath and instantly killed. Although the health bars did drop low from TSM, excuse me, Envy, they were able to have a more cohesive fight there and look better as a team and more coordinated as they made the plays happen, especially with Seraph's 3-man knockup with his Cho'Gath Q. Both teams going to be switching their bot lanes up to the top lane with their top laners going into that bot lane. And just some trade going off. However, Envy looking to take the Rift Herald here with Niski, Lyra, Seraph, and Hakuho. In fact, the entire team all around it. TSM scaring them off, however, might even take this for their own. It's looking like TSM is going to leave the Rift Herald on its own, however, not wanting to start up any fights, knowing they had just lost that huge one, especially with the very strong Cho'Gath now, although behind earlier in lane, did make a very good case for himself off of that team fight, along with Lyra having a huge amount of gold here, possibly being able to tank up the damage from TSM and keep that smite secure onto the Rift Herald. But Hanser and Svenskeren going to be starting up this while every member of TSM surrounds this Rift Herald, while Niski, whose ult is down, is not nearby, along with Seraph having no teleport. So TSM is going to free take this Rift Herald, put it onto Svenskeren, and use that for a future siege. However, Lyra and Seraph looking to trade that for this Cloud Drake, which is great for rotations. Going to make the Elemental Drake count 1-4-1 and get something off of that play. All lanes going to be quite equalized now, having a 2-1-1 kind of lane markup for both teams, with junglers hovering around nearby, which is going to put Svenskeren on a back, while Lyra is probably going to take that Wolves and back, maybe even the Raptors, knowing it's a very important camp to have when you're ahead. With that catch-up experience that is so widely talked about now. In this bottom lane, trades are now going relatively even for Envy, knowing that they were behind earlier. However, Hanser seemingly a little bit weaker now than he was before. Seraph becoming a little too tanky and having a little too much damage to really make it easier for Hanser to defend against this. While a possible invade from Envy to contest this blue buff is not going to be fruitful, and they back off, leaving Bjergsen with that blue to face Niski in this lane, who is now slightly ahead of him and going to be pressuring the turret. Bjergsen just clearing the wave as Syndra does, with Lyra taking that those Raptors, as I mentioned before. Very important camps, especially Krugs too, as camps with more monsters are going to give you better catch-up experience, which, knowing Svenskeren is behind right now, is very beneficial to him. However, that is going to set him behind ever so slightly, while he actually is wrapping around on Hakuho and Apollo for this play. Going to Ian hit Apollo while using the cast to knock him back. He's going to get cut down instantly while Hanser uses his ult to get in, but that's going to be it there. While Lyra and Hakuho back off. However, a possible turret going to be coming in for TSM, while Seraph solo takes the bottom lane tier 1 from TSM. Going to take that on his own, but a trade is going to be coming out from TSM because of that, especially with Tristana's great turret taking. Yep, so Doublelift will take that turret down, meaning that he will have a little bit more gold to work with himself, be a lot stronger than Apollo now, which a lot of this game is through the bottom lane. Doublelift now hoping to shut down both Lyra and Seraph, who have grown so tanky and strong in the last few minutes of the game and these last few fights. And in that replay, you can see just the strength of the Wombo that comes out from TSM. And TSM grouping up around this mid lane, possibly looking to take that final outer turret and continue on maneuvering through Envy's jungle and making it harder for them to get these cross-map catches and plays that they've been looking for with that Talia and with that Rek'Sai, along with the bottom lane setup of Apollo and Hakuo. However, Bjergsen's going to be backing the Envy to do the same, possibly going for this tier 1 mid for themselves, salvaging that one for 0 that TSM had just gotten. And we can definitely see still that although Hanser does hold that CS lead in the side lanes, it's slowly closing as he comes down to a 20 CS lead from a previous 36 or so that I believe I mentioned earlier. Hakuo and Lyra trying to invade Svenskeren and Biofrost. Niski gonna fall behind. Teleport coming out from both teams actually. TSM's gonna complete first, catching Lyra with the taunt. However, Seraph in the back line getting hit, and he's going to almost go down. He's going to be going down from Bjergsen's ultimate here. Health bars on Envy around half for multiple of their team, but they're going to get out losing one, and that's another 1 for 0 for TSM, which really, as Envy, you do not want to give over. This is going to make it a lot harder for Envy to take this tier 1. However, they might try to rush it down. TSM getting that vision up in the top river, keeping up that threat of Baron that they do have. A very strong Baron taking team, however, in Envy, if they do manage to keep this up, they are still ahead in gold. And in this replay, you can see once again the Gragas pick, which has been working out very well for them in this game when it comes to these fights. Which, although he hasn't been as impactful as Lyra, who just picks up another kill into Bjergsen right here, catching out Svenskeren. Exhaust can be used, nothing else to follow. But it does show you that the strength of this cask in TSM's fights, as every kill has involved Svenskeren in some way. Summoner spell is going to be more advantageous for TSM, knowing that they do have flashes up on a lot of their carries, while Lyra, Seraph, and Niski all have their own respective flashes down. TSM following suit after that fight and looking to rush down this dragon, which they do, and they get out before Envy is able to collapse on them and make a play, even though they are down a mid laner. In this replay, we can once again see the Talia wall, which stops Bjergsen from being able to escape, and the CC coming out, and the chain of events, which eventually lead to Bjergsen's death in that fight, and almost Svenskeren's as well. TSM, as usual, hovering around this Baron, which is so impactful for them in the way they play the game as a team, knowing they do like to stick around to that Baron and get those objectives instead of just running over teams with kills and such. While Envy does stick to this mid lane, now having their lead that they previously had in this Cloud Drake equalize is going to make it easier for TSM to outplay them in the macro game, which it seems that they have done, knowing they do have a lot of these wave shoves, although they are still behind in gold, however. And Lyra playing actually like a monster this game. 100% KP, definitely with that 2/3 of his team's kills. TSM going to be pushing down this mid lane, however, using the siege tools they have in the Tristana especially. Hakuho going in with the engage, getting a lot of members CC'd. Lyra following in, however, not much going to come out of it, and that's just a wasted ult from Hakuho. Nothing going to be coming from it. However, Svenskeren does use his cask for the defense. Turret going down, tier 1 mid. That's going to be the entire outer ring of turrets for Envy going down to TSM. TSM now almost equalizing the entire gold lead. However, Svenskeren getting caught out here and going to be CC chained. Hanser going in trying to recover this, but he's going to get kind of ripped down here too. Not going to die, but the ult from Niski going to catch him out, and Hanser might be going down here. Hanser does end up going down by Lyra's ultimate, and that's going to mean that this Baron might actually go over to Envy if they decide to go for it. Apollo also trying to possibly get that turret trade in the mid lane for what they had lost just a minute ago, and make it so the pain of losing that mid turret isn't as felt for them. While Seraph is pushing in the bottom lane, going to be dragging over at least one of the members from TSM, most likely Hanser in this case, who was down most of his globals. We do see how Hanser gets into this fight with that ultimate, and in the end gets caught out by Niski's wall, which is very impactful. However, Bjergsen able to escape with that the Banshees, and Lulu actually pushed over the wall, giving a free escape in that situation. Still, TSM remains 2k down in this situation. However, it hasn't grown much ever since Envy got the initial lead. And now all members back up. No Baron had been started up, but Envy trying to make a play on either this wave or the next one, knowing they just shoved towards Hanser, and they have these waves going and getting these invades off. Maybe even looking to roam down towards Hanser and get that pick. However, they're going to hover around this mid lane, not much going to be coming out of it due to the fact that Bjergsen has amassed a very large wave to push down this tier 2 top, following with Doublelift, Biofrost, and Svenskeren following. It's going to mean the entire team of Envy, minus the top laners, is going to be roaming up to stop this. Niski using the ult to cancel the wave. The turret going to be going down to half health, and TSM going to back off. TSM does have these wards around the Baron, however, so if they do somehow catch Envy off guard, they can rush this down, especially with that Tristana pick that has been very impactful in this game in taking down these turrets, who also does still hold a lead upon Apollo. The mid lane going to stay relatively equalized, and nothing's really going to be going down right now. However, Envy does have the vision in their own topside jungle, which is going to help them deflect these possible Baron moves. And Seraph invading in the bot lane, along with Hakuo and Apollo, going to steal over the red buff as TSM decides to back off, with Lyra making sure nobody is able to start any sort of fight. And the mid lane getting pushed in. However, Bjergsen, Doublelift, and Biofrost are going to be holding this mid lane, with Svenskeren coming in, possibly using that Righteous Glory, possibly going to go for some sort of engage here. However, he's going to back off as Envy does get away in time. And Niski clearing that top wave with a back coming from Seraph, which gives a hint that Envy probably isn't going to be going for a play anytime soon. Waiting possibly for this dragon to contest, as they might want to drag TSM down there. However, the risk of TSM rushing down the Baron while they take that dragon does remain. So a possible pick or skirmish that goes Envy's way is really what they want right now. Niski does have his wall up. Seraph does have his teleport. But in that same vein, Hanser does have his own ultimate and teleport to work with, if in case that would happen here. So, although Apollo and the rest of them continues to shove in this mid wave, nothing really going to be gained from it. And the side lane's actually slightly in favor of Hanser right now. However, he's getting slowly out-traded as the exchanges go on here. And TSM possibly, they've just been waiting, it seems, to scale up to the point where they really can engage and take their own fights. Prey Seeker going to burn Bjergsen's Banshees once more here. While TSM getting the wards down in Envy's red side jungle. Hovering around this Baron, possibly going for it. However, they do stay in the top side bush around mid lane. Everyone having their summoner spells up and their ultimates to be in use. Seraph getting the poke off in the bottom lane along with Hanser. Seraph coming out slightly ahead on that. Both using the grass of dying to stay healthy. Top lane wave going to be possibly pushing for TSM towards that tier 2 top that Envy do have open. But so Envy's on sort of a timer here before they do have to respond to that as the wave grows for TSM. The mid lane looking sort of ARAM-esque here with all of Envy surrounding. And 4 of TSM going to be starting up the Baron with Hanser in the bottom side. Envy trying to break this open and possibly make a play. However, TSM Svenskeren gets ulted by Hanser and goes in a fight around this pit, and the cast goes in doing nothing. Poke coming out from both sides, but it seems like nothing is going to come out of it. Envy possibly going towards the Baron themselves here, getting these wards down while Bjergsen is around the opening to their jungle, going to get the multi-stun on them. Lyra and Hako stuck in the pit, but they're going to be getting out. Seraph getting stunned back himself here. The red buff going over to Apollo as expected, and they're both going to reset a little here now that the vision has been equalized in this topside river. The waves pushing towards Envy, so Envy do have to respond to those. Knowing they had that timer, this is going to give TSM the option to use Haunter and double going towards this Ocean Drake, which they're most likely going to collect here. And that's going to be another Ocean Drake that really amplifies the power of the Elder Drake buff that will be coming up as the next dragon here. So Envy does have to be careful for that, and when that would happen. Both teams getting their backs off, spending their gold, making sure that they don't back on a time that will open up the other to just rush down this Baron. And they're both going to possibly fight over this vision that's oh so important when it comes to controlling these objectives. And you can see here the comps of both teams are really being shown. TSM definitely wanting these team fights and to getting ahead, which is what they've been doing. They've been sticking together as a group, using Hanser in the side lane, which is really what their comp's goal is to achieve. They want to use that Svenskeren engage coupled with Hanser's CC to get in and open it up for the Bjergsen and Doublelift. However, TP coming out from Hanser, they're going to be starting to rush down the Baron while Envy trying to get this mid lane turret. However, they're going to notice this and go back. The Baron going down very quickly, going to be secured by TSM. Ult coming out from Niski to zone Bjergsen out of the fight, while TSM going low along with Envy in this fight. Looking very even, however, Bjergsen going to use ult on Niski, nothing coming out of it. First kill going over to Envy with Apollo taking down Svenskeren. Hakuho catching out Doublelift with the CC, followed by the silence coming out from Seraph, and Hanser getting low too. He's going to almost drop here, using his flash to get away. Lyra using the ultimate. So that's going to be a 2-0 it seems, with Envy coming out of the lead, but Bjergsen having Baron on 3 defending this turret. This tier 2 mid now that the tier 1 had been destroyed as a result of that. Both side lanes, well, one side lane shoving for Envy when it comes to the bottom lane, it seems, while one side lane heavily shoving for TSM in that top lane. Hanser possibly getting caught out by Envy's invade here. However, Envy's 4-man invade isn't going to mean much, as Niski responds to the top lane turret, and they really want to stop this Baron from coming into any sort of plays or sieges or being useful in any meaning. As the gold lead is still around 3k, hasn't been changed a huge amount. Definitely a worrying trend for Envy when it comes to that. However, they have showed signs that they are gaining tempo and map pressure, which is always good to have. Apollo dropping low in that fight, but those spear stacking and the lifesteal he had really coming in huge in that, making sure that he doesn't die, along with this Banshee's Veil and these Merc Treads of Niski's, making sure that he did not get dropped too low due to Bjergsen's combo and ultimate going down on him earlier in the fight. Both teams going to be contesting this Envy's red side jungle vision, with TSM pushing towards the tier 2 top, using this Baron buff that they still have for another 2 minutes, which I believe is on, it is on, let me check here. It is on Bjergsen, I believe. Was it Svenskeren and Biofrost? Well, regardless, we will see TSM utilizing it, along with Hanser in this bottom lane, and with a huge wave shoving, going to be forcing Seraph to respawn. Hanser actually one of the ones with this Baron buff, making it incredibly tough for Seraph to clear this wave. Most of the team, of both teams for them, are going to be roaming down here, with Niski taking it back. However, his ult is up to get into this fight. Tower going down extremely quickly, and that's going to be another tower going over to TSM, making it only a 2k lead. Hakuho getting hit by the cask and forced to go in, which causes his own death. And ult used by Niski, however, nothing going to come out of it. And this mid-tier turret now in TSM sights. Doublelift taking it down once again extremely quickly, using the newfound attack speed along with his E-scaling, and that's going to go right over to TSM. So that's 2 turrets there, making the gold lead almost non-existent for Envy. TSM looking like they're outscaling Envy with that Tristana pick here, and the 2 tanks that they've really been relying on. Using this sort of protect the doublelift comp they have, it's becoming very apparent that using Doublelift's mobility and his rocket jump, along with the Lulu shields and ultimate, it's been very easy for them to peel for Doublelift and really allow him to shine here in getting ahead in these fights. Once again, these teams are going to congregate around the mid lane. However, Hanser in the top lane with both globals, and Seraph going to be backing. So that's a ever so slightly uneven matchup here in case a fight was to break out. TSM getting the inside track on the mid lane, however, they're going to end up allowing Envy to take it back. And as they're going to be rotating towards this top lane to deal with Seraph, who's now come to contest this minion wave that Hanser is pushed up towards the top lane tier 2. Top lane tier 2 going to be going down, and TSM taking down all the outer turrets of Envy's. Both teams are going to be in this red side jungle. TSM possibly catching out Lyra and getting him low. Yeah, a lot of CC going to be followed up. The cast going in. Lyra going to burn his flash, but he's going to be exploded. Hakuho saved by the Kalista ultimate. And that's going to be a 1-for-0 once again for TSM, which could lead them, now that the jungler's dead, to this Elder Drake, while Envy does push for the mid lane. TSM does have the stronger Elder Drake result, knowing that they do have those 3 elemental dragons. It's going to go right over to TSM. No, not even going to try to stop this. So it's looking even tougher for Envy now that they are at a gold deficit of 2,000, which previously was around the amount they had in the lead. They only have one elemental dragon to their name when it comes to fighting TSM, who does seem to be outscaling them, as I've mentioned before, as Lyra slowly loses his usefulness in these fights, and a lot of unnecessary picks being given over to TSM here. And although they only have half the kills that Envy does, they are off to that huge turret lead. Excuse me. However, Envy Using their shoving minion waves in the top lane, that's going to be the tier 1 top going down for TSM, and Envy sticking together around this mid lane. While 3 of TSM do stick to this bottom lane, looking to hard push it and make it easier for them to get these plays off. Doublelift actually going to carry all the this wave around him, and Envy just scattered throughout their base walls, trying to make sure that they do not get sieged with this Elder Dragon. And with this strength of this Tristana and really defense that can be given to him, Baron live now in case any team is going to either win a fight or just turn on it. Doublelift once again sieging this bottom lane inside turret, which is going down very quickly. It's actually going to almost drop here. As the minion wave comes, it does drop, and that's the inhibitor exposed, which is also going to be going down extremely quickly. And that's going to be the first inhibitor of the game going down to Doublelift in this bottom lane for Envy. And although the top lane wave is hard pushing for Envy, Envy is actually going to use this inside track that they now have, ignore the destroyed inhibitor, and go straight towards that Baron. However, they do fall back as Seraph gets caught by a CC and gets ripped through. Doublelift dropping ever so low, but Seraph does make it out by using that flash and having a sliver of health. And these teams are relatively even when it comes to with numbers here, along with Seraph having the TP. So this could be the explosive fight that decides the entire game right here. Lyra going to get caught. However, he's going to teleport over the wall with his tunnels, and that's going to be a ult coming out from Niski to join the fight as the Baron drops to 2/3 health, and Haunts are getting damaged pretty heavily. Going to go back of the wall with the blast cone. And a stun hitting a lot of the major carries of TSM. However, they do get away from the cask. Niski burning his barrier, dropping to around 1/3 of his HP here. And TSM is going to use that redemption and restart this Baron, make it incredibly tough for Envy to fight this with a low health mid laner. And with Apollo on low mana here, with his ult along with Rakan's ult burned, just a war of attrition here as they trade abilities and go back and forth. Baron stopped for TSM. Niski actually going to back, so they're just going to keep up the facade, possibly looking for a Baron steal here instead of going for the fight. However, Niski canceling the back, realizing that it might be better to stay for the fight instead, as TSM does restart the Baron. However, they go in on Seraph. Hakuho going to catch out Svenskeren, who's dropping low, along with Seraph. Both going to drop, and the carries and Lyra and Niski going to get stunned up. Lyra dropping down as well. Hakuho, Niski, and Apollo remain. However, Doublelift going low. He's going to get stacked up in one shot by the spears and rocks coming out from Niski and Apollo, and that's going to be a 2-for-2. A very even fight there. And TSM feigns a back while they go towards that Baron, looking to restart while Apollo does have to respond to those two supermins and that wave coming in towards their base, along with the top lane wave that's going to be slowly pushing in. Baron going at around half health here as Haku is nearby, but it's looking like it's going to go over to TSM. However, Niski does have his ultimate. Haku going to get stunned up and killed. Niski near this Baron. He has to be the hero here for Envy, or else this could be the game right here. This could be. Baron going low, 2k health, going to go over to TSM, secured by Bjergsen, and that's going to be the 3 members of TSM backing there, while Doublelift slowly comes off this back timer. And in this replay, we can see the strength of Bjergsen here with these stuns and this huge damage and penetration. It allows him to break through that front line. And although Doublelift does make a sort of blunder here, allowing Apollo to stack up these spears and kill him, it ends up in a 3v3 that Envy is too low and has too little resources to re-engage on. just leading TSM to take that Baron along with the wave push that Envy had previously ignored to actually come to this Baron initially. So TSM holding every advantage they really need to end this game now that is currently up. The next Elder Dragon going to be coming at one point, however, not within a minute or so, so it might not be worth waiting for as they want to end this game as quickly as possible, trying to rip through this top lane turret with Doublelift here to poke it down. Going to use his E and explode right through that turret, going down, using his Buster shot on Hakuho to keep him away from the engage, and a wall coming out from Niski, catching out 3 of TSM, but they're not going to go in on it, and Hanser taking out the mid lane turret as TSM tries to distract them in this top lane. Hanser dropping the turret low, he's going to be taking it down while the top lane inhibitor goes down by Doublelift's gun. And Doublelift's going to be killing this front line while Svenskeren gets CC'd, but gets a huge body slam, dropping the members of Lyra quite low with the damage coming from Doublelift. And that's going to be just, they slowly poke him, and the third inhibitor does go down. TSM has the Baron buff. They have all the waves they need to end this game 1 here. They've been playing very well around this Doublelift pick on Tristana. And Svenskeren possibly going in for a body slam here. Svenskeren going in that turret, the last Nexus turret going down, dropping low, exposed Nexus here as Lyra gets caught and dropped very low, trying to use his ult to escape, but it's too much, and TSM looking to take this game right here. Game 1 of the series is going to be going over to TSM due to a lot of the way they play around Doublelift, keep him safe, and make him so they can just siege those turrets, and immaculately playing the macro game, stopping any sort of counter engage or counter siege that really could have ruined their early game to a point where it was unrecoverable. TSM played incredibly well around these objectives, which should have been Envy's strength with the zone control they did have in their comp, and TSM better utilizes their tools and takes this game 1 here.